So we're looking at a shapefile here that is a bunch of fish locations, and it doesn't really tell you a whole lot because you have no idea where these are. One of the things that you will do in most of your projects is to add a base map, which is something that has been around for a couple years now in ArcMap, and it's really, really useful. And basically, it's what it sounds like. It's a base map that lies underneath all your other shapefiles, but automatically gives them some consistent context and helps you work with them a little better. And so it's pretty easy to add one. You just come up here to the Add Data button, and you click on the drop down, and you choose to add a base map. And then a window will pop up showing you several different options that come with ArcMap. Now, first you can see there's all kinds of different options here. The first one we're going to use is topographic maps, because I like this one. But one thing you must realize is that these are not on your hard drive. These are in the cloud. And so if you're not connected to the internet, this is not going to work. And if you're connected to a slow internet connection, this is going to take a long time. And sometimes, if you're moving around a lot, this base map will really slow you down. And I'll show you why here in a second. But for now, we're just going to add this base map. And when I click Add, we're going to look down here in the lower right, and you're going to see that it's going to signal to you that it's going to the internet to retrieve this map. So let's click Add. And you see the little globe here. That means that ArcMap is going to the cloud to find that map. And now you've got a nice topographic map for your base map. And so now these points make a lot more sense. Now, as I said, if you're moving around a lot or doing a lot of work, this might slow you down. So let me show you an example. Now, one way it can slow you down is if you zoom in or zoom out or you move on the map, it has to download new maps. And so every time you zoom or move, it has to go fetch those maps from the internet. And that's what can slow you down. So right now, it's got a fairly low resolution map because you're zoomed out so far. But let's zoom in on these points here. And you see this low resolution, but it went and downloaded a higher resolution map, so now it looks really good. So that wasn't too bad. Let's pay in, and you see now it's having to go catch up and download new maps, and catch up and download new maps. And so as I move around, you see how it takes a second before it refreshes the display. That's because it's going to the cloud to retrieve that map. Now that wasn't too bad. But if you have a lot of data or a slow internet connection, sometimes this can slow you down. And if it does, you just come over here and turn it off like any other shapefile. And then you can move and you can zoom very quickly. And then you can turn it back on. And there you go. And so the topographic map one is pretty good. Another one that I like, oops, excuse me. I'm going to zoom back in here by the dam. And so I'm going to turn off the topographic base map. Another one that I really like is imagery. So this is aerial photography, which we use a lot. And these files are a little bigger, so it takes a second to download them. But again, now you can put those points in context. But in a similar manner, right now we're zoomed pretty far out, so you have a fairly low resolution aerial photograph, but it looks good from this distance. But let's zoom in, way in, and you see the low resolution that you have, but it fetches a much higher resolution one. And you can zoom in quite a ways, and it'll go fetch an even higher resolution photo. And so that's pretty nice. Now, one other thing we need to mention is that you need to give Esri credit for if you're using their base map. So anytime we go and get GIS data from somewhere else, you always need to give credit to the person who owns or created that data. And since you're using this base map, you're using Esri's data, and you need to give them credit. Now, if you look down here, it's got a little icon that shows you the credit for those layers. And it gives you the different places that Esri went to get those base maps, and so you have to give them credit. And if you export this map, which we're going to call demonstrate base maps, and save it as a JPEG. And now that I have that JPEG, let's say I'm going to put it in a Word document or something. I'm going to go to where I saved it. Let's open up that JPEG. Here's the one I just created. And you'll notice that they automatically watermark it with their source information. And so this is good because that way you can give people credit, where the credit's due for these base maps, but it does it automatically. So if you don't use this image, if you try to screenshot or something, you would need to do something to indicate where you got these base maps from. Okay, so that's base maps in ArcMap. Super useful. And let me know if you got any questions.